Welcome to the AskOkey podcast. Another Monday, another hour or so in the company of Prof and myself. We hope you're all doing well, enjoying your afternoon or evening with your favorite beverage. So settle back and get ready. Now, don't forget, before we start, like and subscribe in that order. If you don't like us, don't subscribe. But then if you don't like us, why are you here in the first place? Inquiring minds want to know. Prof, welcome. It's been a busy few days, and looks like being a busy next few days as well, yes, as AskOkey gets into the winter season, and a lot of stuff going on there, I believe.
Yes, sir.
I'm not at the what you might call in the eye of the hurricane, so I'm on the periphery. But we've got new things coming out from Made to Measure, I think.
Yes, sir.
Good. Well, we'll be looking forward to those. And we have here the linen Prince of Wales, which I'm not sure if we've seen on a podcast. I know we've seen it, but I'm not sure. Or we've seen the other one that looks a little bit like it.
Yes, we've seen something similar. I might have worn this on the podcast, but at this point we're rotating through old stuff.
Yes,
well, old new stuff.
Old new. Yes. No, but the thing is, I noticed this is that as I wander around in the back of Studio One here, I always find something I haven't noticed before. So it's like one of those dreams where you open a door and there's a whole sort of suite of rooms that you never knew existed in your house. Same thing with Prof's wardrobe. And we talked the other day about coats. And I thought it might be interesting to look at jackets because we do have some classics, namely this one right here, the very first AskOkey prototype product. But before we get into that, I wanted to just draw your attention to this, which I think you'll remember. Would you believe this was 3 years ago?
Yes, I do believe. I do believe it was 3 years ago. I think a few gray hair on my head.
One or two, maybe. One or two, yes. But I reckon that's the same tie. Is it? Or is it a lighter version?
No, it's a different tie.
It's a different tie,
It's a medallion.
It's a medallion tie, okay.
It's a different one.
Yes, so this was back in the day when we used to have the racks of suits there.
Correct.
And some of these even are pre-AskOkey.
Correct.
I think.
Correct.
Now, when did you do this first jacket? Because the trousers came first, didn't they?
Correct.
When did this one come out?
Well, the trousers, if you remember, I started making even before the brand AskOkey existed.
Yep.
And I was selling them on my WhatsApp, which you belong to.
yes, I did.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I still have them.
You were part of that WhatsApp group. I started selling the trousers on our WhatsApp group right around 2018.
Yep.
Or thereabout.
Yep.
And we sold those trousers for about 2 years before AskOkey was even formally formed in 2020.
Was it that long?
Yes, thereabout.
Okay.
AskOkey was formally formed and registered as a Delaware C Corp in 2020.
Okay.
And then 2021, we started getting ready to launch.
Right.
Now, mind you, we'd been working on the platform since 2018, if you remember.
Yeah.
And so it took us about 4 years to develop the digital platform. Now, alongside, while the digital team was working on the platform, I was also working on this, on our first jacket.
Yeah.
Since we had trousers. And so I believe I started work on the first jacket in 2020. And we didn't have it till, I believe, the later part of 2021.
Yep.
Sort of between the design and the iterations and all of that stuff. So I believe the first jacket, this particular jacket, came out in the early part of, it might have been early 2022. Because when we launched, late 2021, because when we launched in 2022, we had the jacket ready.
Yes.
And our first I remember the first order was from Omar, and he ordered a jacket, a similar jacket in mock lino.
That's
so yes,
it, yes.
we did have this jacket when we launched officially in January of 2022. So going by that timeline, I believe the jacket was completed in the last quarter of 2021. But I had been working on the design. I mean, I was the design team.
Sure.
I was everything.
That's right, yes.
So I had been working on it for, a good part of 2021. And we had it ready by the end of 2021 before we launched in 2022.
Because it was on the website.
Correct.
I think it was the first one on the
launched
website.
Basically with just this single-breasted jacket and our classic pleated trousers.
That was it, wasn't it? Yes.
That's it. Just two products.
Two products, yes. And we still have them. But this is interesting because, Prof, this one, just pull it out here so everybody can see it. This one sort of set the stage, didn't it?
Yes.
And it's kind of like what would you call it? The grandfather of all subsequent AskOkeys.
Everything else was sort of an iteration of this. In many ways, sort of derived. This was this had the basic DNA.
Yeah.
And everything else sort of came from here, including the double-breasted jacket.
Well, I remember looking at it the first time and thinking, yeah, okay, it's a jacket, And then once you start to look at it and get interested in it, you start to see really what's involved and how original it was or is. But first, what is this made of?
This is a tweed.
No, I mean, is it fox or?
No, this was sort of an end of bow tweed I had picked up from an old lawyer, a retiring lawyer in London. And if you remember, Pete, prior to the launch, I had been stacking bolts of cloth for about 5 years. I started collecting bolts somewhere around 2015, 16, and I had just been stacking bolts of cloth. And I was buying them literally on the go. And I would see something interesting either on Style Forum or or eBay and I would, if I liked it, I would just buy a coat length or something of that nature. And the idea behind that was that I knew we were ultimately going to start to create these prototypes. And I wanted to, for each piece of cloth that I bought, I had a specific project in mind. And so that once we started developing the designs, I had bolts of cloths that were earmarked for specific SKUs, as we call them, or models, as it were. So, yes, this particular one, I remember I sourced it from, it was an odd bolt I sourced from a gentleman in London.
Who had presumably got it for the same purpose of making something and never got around to it. It was interesting because it's got a nice red line on it, and a sort of red check.
Yes.
It's got a barleycorn weave interspersed with a herringbone.
Correct.
So it's once you get up close to it, there's really some imagination gone into that pattern there. In fact, I remember there was a guy, wasn't there, who wanted to order. Well, Omar wanted one like it, but of course, that was it. It was gone. So it was the last of its.
It's a vintage
its
piece.
breed. Yeah. So you decided for that first prototype, you're going to get a one button.
Correct.
You were going to have these slanted pockets. You're going to have one button on the thing cuff here. Now, what made you think of one instead of two?
Well, the inspiration for this jacket, or for most of my original ideas, actually, because I studied extensively the works of Huntsman.
Right, okay.
And the old Huntsman, not the Huntsman of today. But the old Huntsman, they had this signature hacking coat.
Right.
A hacking coat is a sport coat. It's a hacking. It's a riding coat. It's it's still worn by equestrians. And I loved that whole idea.
Sure.
The silhouette and just the shape of the coat. Unfortunately, they don't make those things anymore at Huntsman.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I took a lot of inspiration. I don't claim to I don't claim originality, so to speak. But as with anything innovation related, there's always a foundation. and then you sort of
Yep.
add your own idiosyncrasies as
Sure,
it were
sure.
to that foundation. So for me, the foundation for this single-breasted one-button coat was from the old Huntsman hacking coat.
Isn't
And
that
hacking coats, as
interesting?
you know, are sort of they're riding coats, and hence the hacking pockets.
Yes,
You call them
yes.
slab tip pockets, but the proper term for it would be
Hacking pockets, yeah,
Correct.
yeah. And it's really, as you know, I don't look at it very often because it's on a hanger, but if you look at it, it really captured the shape perfectly, didn't it?
It does because of the fabric too. Obviously, we incorporated all our principles of drape, meaning sort of the full cut,
Yeah.
the full chest. You can see the molding on the chest. If
You
look
can,
at it,
yes,
you can
indeed,
almost-
yes.
Even looking at it straight on, you can almost see
Yeah,
it
you
in
can.
3 dimensions. So
No, you can, yes.
what helps capture this 3-dimensional shape is also the fabric.
Okay,
So when heavier fabric is easier, it lends itself to shaping a coat far better than some of these Italian jobs that you have out there.
yeah, or even some of the English job. Anything lightweight, anything under 10 ounces would be
Correct.
pretty difficult. So, and this is what, about 17 ounces?
I'd reckon about 15 ounces.
15 ounces,
16 ounces,
yeah.
thereabout.
So that's a really robust material, and you can shape it well. But it does have this amazing figure to it.
Yes.
And it's not only the mannequin. I mean, it's also the jacket as well. So we've got a one-button hacking coat, and it's got the signature. Well, the double vent which you would have with a hacking coat, but also this has become a sort of signature of the AskOkey design, hasn't it?
Correct. Well, actually, with a hacking coat, if it's a proper riding coat, it should come with a single center vent.
Okay, a center vent.
For reasons we've discussed on
Yeah,
prior
yeah,
podcasts,
yeah.
when you're riding a coat, wearing a coat, you sit astride a horse.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
so
yeah.
the vent should be designed such that it
right.
allows
Okay. Yes.
it
Yes.
drapes to either side of
Yes.
the of the horse, in a manner of
Yes.
speaking. However, since this is more stylistic than actually, I mean, I'm not going to ride a horse, so
No.
we've used a double vent here
Yeah.
because it's just, I just find it more practical for most
Sure.
gentlemen.
Sure, and it helps you to get that flair as well, doesn't it? Or I suppose it does.
It helps. It helps. You could still get that flair with a single vent.
Now, how did you get, if this is not a trade secret, how did you get that shape that you were looking for? Is it just the canvas inside, or is it actually the way the cloth is cut in the front piece?
Well, it's the way the cloth is cut, as well as the shaping. Now, this is really where we get into the principles of engineering. Like you know, I'm not a trained tailor.
No.
But what I did was that I tried to understand, using principles of engineering, how do you create a shape? How do you create a 3-dimensional shape? In the chest, for instance, how do you sort of create a curve?
Yeah.
The surface area of a curve is longer than that of a straight line.
Yes.
So if you took a distance, point A to B, right, and you took a straight line, right, it'd be sort of a certain fixed number, say 5 inches.
Right.
Now, if you were to sort of create a curve
Yeah.
from point A to B, would it be longer or
Well,
shorter?
it'd be about 7 inches.
Exactly. So in the same way, when you're cutting the chest of a drape coat, now you're really forcing me to divulge some of my trade secrets
We'll
here.
have to switch the sound off at this point.
But when you're cutting the chest of a drape coat, you have to follow the same principles. You have to cut it longer than the actual chest. If you understand what I mean.
Perfectly, yes.
You have to cut it longer than the actual chest. Now, the problem with that is that it requires excess cloth to go from point A to B.
So from here to here. So,
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So the cross chest, we call it a cross chest measurement. The cross chest is going to be across a curved surface, which means the distance between A and B will necessarily be longer. So you have to cut more cloth. what happens is when you have more cloth, right? Naturally, it folds on the chest because there's just excess fabric there, and that is really where the workmanship comes in. That is where the basting in the chest and then the canvas, shaping the canvas, basting the canvas to provide reinforcement.
Sure.
Under that excess fabric. Because if you don't reinforce it, what happens is that it collapses.
It just flops.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we measure, we sort of take note of these extra, let's say, meterage or sort of acreage that we create. And we now have to create a structure to support that excess acreage.
Yeah.
And it's not just in the chest, it's also in the shoulders. And so when we talk of an extended shoulder, right? Which we cut in pretty much all our jackets.
And this one has an extended shoulder.
It does have an extended shoulder, so that is slightly wider than my natural shoulders.
Yeah.
If there is no structure to support the extension, right, it collapses. And that is why I insist that to have a properly shaped coat, right, which is distinctly separate and apart from the body, you must have some structure and scaffolding.
Yeah, scaffolding.
It's just engineering.
that's scaffolding.
So when people say, oh, I want sort of soft tailoring, whatever that means, soft tailoring, soft shoulders, you can't shape a garment that way.
Well, it's not tailoring, is it?
It's not tailoring anymore.
No, it's dressmaking.
If you want a soft tailored garment, go get a toga. Right? And call it a day.
That's right.
Because if you want a soft tailored jacket or a blanket or a shawl, better well just grab your wife's shawl.
Yeah, poncho.
Or poncho and put it over your shoulders. But the whole idea behind tailoring is to create shape.
Yep.
Where there may or may not be one.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Let's go back to the body of the goddamn Greek.
That's right. The Greek god.
Greek god and the body of a goddamn Greek. But the whole idea behind tailoring is to create a shape and structure where there may not be one.
Indeed.
And you cannot create that. You cannot create all these things we're discussing now are separate elements of creating shape.
Yeah.
So to answer your question in a nutshell. We make allowances, we cut the jacket necessarily larger than the wearer, right? And then we use structure and reinforcement to produce that beautiful shape.
And so the structure and the reinforcement, and we've mentioned this earlier, but it's worth repeating, is you can feel it up here. Curiously, Prof, there's actually very little what I would call padding. You don't really feel a lot of heavy padding in the shoulder. You feel a very stiff piece of cloth there, but you don't feel a great lump of padding. And then but you can feel quite what would you call it? Substantial chest, and that is, of course, the canvas inside and everything. And then we've got this nice hand stitching here, which obviously keeps it all together, and then this roll here. And I remember you telling at some point, we had a chat on one of these podcasts, and you were talking about pressing the lapels and how some cleaners and laundrymen press the lapels and why they shouldn't, because you can feel here that it's built to roll away, isn't it?
It's what you call a hand-padded lapel.
It's a hand-padded lapel.
So if you think about this is all one piece of canvas, Pete, right?
Right.
When you close this off like that, right?
Yeah.
This is one piece of canvas that goes all the way from top to bottom.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So starting from the shoulder seam all the way to the bottom, right?
Yeah.
With different grades, of course. There's a triple layer up until here, then there's a double layer up until here, then the single layer that goes, and I've explained in a separate video why we do it that way. But the point is that you do have a piece of canvas under this lapel, right? And so when you baste the chest, you also have to baste the canvas into the lapel, right? And the canvas itself is a very flexible structure. right? It's flexible, it moves. It's basically it's an organic, it's horsehair, right? In some cases. So it's very dynamic.
Yeah.
It's a dynamic material, and that's why the collar rolls, right? Because it's not stiff, it's not flat.
Yeah. It springs back, doesn't it?
It springs back, and that's why you have that beautiful roll.
Yes.
You know, when you see a hand-padded lapel, that's why you have this beautiful roll, because underneath that lapel is a piece of canvas which is very, very dynamic, almost spring-like.
But it's not stiff
It's
either.
not stiff, but it's spring-like. It springs back into position when you so, and that's why it can be flat, because it's a spring, right? If it wasn't springy, it would just lay flat. And that's why you have, when you see a fused garment, for instance, fusing is not dynamic. A fused garment it's inorganic. It's just basically a piece of, you know,
it's glued together.
Synthetic cloth, and that's why it looks dead.
Right.
But with a canvas, piece of canvas, it's organic, it's dynamic, so it springs back and forth, and it gives that life.
Sure.
That's what gives the coat that liveliness.
And it would, and then it molds as you wear it. It sort of molds to you, doesn't it?
To your body, exactly. Exactly.
And you made it with these slanted pockets because it's a hacker, but also because you've got a very large area here, haven't you? So these pockets kind of help to break up that view a little bit.
Correct. So, I mean, these are sort of small elements of design. It's a design element. So, were I to design this with sort of straight pockets, right? What I might do is to put a ticket pocket.
Right, okay. Yes.
Just to occupy this extra acreage down here.
Yes.
Or to make it sort of a large patch pocket.
Right, okay.
Right?
Okay, yes.
Sort of to cover, because we cut a long skirt.
Yeah, it has quite a long skirt. Because the buttons, it's a little bit above the waist, I think.
Right around the natural waist.
Right around the natural waist.
Because it's a long jacket with a long skirt, right? Which sort of exposes this large real estate here. So from a design standpoint, you have to decide what you want to do with that excess acreage.
Right.
So here, what I've done is that to conceal that excess acreage, I've gone with a hacking design.
Yes.
But there are other ways you could also address that excess acreage. For instance, like I said, using a ticket pocket and then a main flap pocket.
Or a patch.
Just using like a patch pocket with a bellow, or sort of like pleated pockets, just to give a little bit of substance to that.
Yeah, a little bit of variety.
Part of the coat. May I sit?
Yeah, go ahead, Prof. Go ahead. Prof's been doing radically violent workouts lately, and it's had its effect. One of the things is, I remember at the time thinking you could have done a patch pocket on this one. You know the pockets you have on the Safari? You could probably do those on here. They're not a big bellows. They're a slight bellows, but I'm wondering if that might make it look a bit too busy. But in any case, everybody, the slightly extended shoulder, the substantial basting there, the hand-basted lapels, which is very nice to have, and then the canvas that goes all the way down to the end, and you can sort of feel that canvas when you twiddle the outside and inside, but with more canvas at the top, and it all hangs from the shoulders, and it's designed with sort of internal design and an external design. So the internal design is all of that, what Prof's been telling us about. And this was the original first version. And how many redos did you have to do in order to get it like this?
I mean, it took a while, because I mean, there was nothing like it out there. I mean, it wasn't like we picked up a jacket somewhere and say just copy it. And so we had to play around with the proportions. You know, there was a lot of and mind you, the tailors that I had essentially hired to do this, they'd never done anything like this before.
No.
So we had to start, literally, it was from paper. We designed everything from paper. We had the paper pattern. I physically sketched everything out by hand. And then from the paper pattern, as you know, we go to the test of fit. And that's where we start to play around with the general sort of with the architecture.
Yes. One moment, Prof. We'll be back in 1 second. Time for the break. Go and refill your drinks. Are you the best dressed man in the room wherever you go? If not, why not? It's not that difficult. AskOkey makes bespoke suits, jackets, trousers, and other garments for discerning men all over the world. So next time you look around and feel that you're not quite presentable, give us a call, send us a mail, or send us a direct message on the social media channels, and we'll kit you up to look like a king. Bye for now. Welcome back to the podcast. One thing that we forget, Prof and I, when we're doing these, is that some of you may be watching us for the first time. And if that's the case, be it known, AskOkey is actually a company. We do, in fact, make menswear, just in case you'd missed that. Prof, this one here, I thought we'd take a look at, because it's again, it follows in the same sort of principle as the previous one. Mm-hmm. This is, once we got into it, and once we'd started making, I think the next one was the 2-button, and then we got into the double-breasted, and then you moved into, I think it was last year or the year before, you moved into the 3-button. Correct. Now, is this a 3 or a 3 rolling to 2?
That is a strict 3-button.
A strict 3-button, okay.
And the difference between a 3-button and a 3-roll 2 is that with a 3-button, you can see all 3 buttons.
Yeah.
And it's got a shorter lapel. Mm-hmm. With the 3-roll 2, this button is hidden. Yeah,
you get a slightly longer lapel.
Right,
yeah.
It's slightly longer. But this is a classic, very similar to what you have on.
Yeah.
A classic 3-button, and
yes.
You can see all 3 buttons.
And you can indeed. And this is a blazer. Yes. It's a casual blazer, and we know that because it has patch pockets with no flaps, mm-hmm. and a patch breast pocket as well, which I've always found, I like it, but I've found it a bit difficult because it doesn't have the volume that a regular pocket has. And I tend to put a lot of stuff in my pockets, so it sticks out a bit. But principally, and then you've got a small sort of, this is a rather nice touch. You've got like an upper pocket.
It's a ticket pocket, essentially.
A ticket pocket, okay.
It's a ticket pocket that is sort of designed to be as an inlay into the main pocket. So it is a ticket patch.
Yes.
So in the same way that if you had a flap pocket, you would have a flap ticket pocket. So in this case, it's just a ticket pocket, but it's a patch pocket that is being built into
into the main pocket.
The main pocket.
Yeah, nice touch that. And this is a beautiful color. It's a navy, but it's a slightly grayish navy, isn't it?
Well, it is a navy. I think it's just the fabric that gives off that grayish sheen.
Okay.
It's a very heavy linen.
Yeah.
Very heavy, about 500 grams. I believe this is either by Ulster Weavers or Fox, one of our suppliers.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful, heavy linen.
Very heavy.
And it's just the weave of the linen that sort of gives off that grayish sheen. Yeah,
but it's nice to have that variety rather than just the standard very dark blue which you get with serge or twill.
Correct.
This is a really nice texture to it. And of course the fabric, the linen fabric, makes it look a little bit casual as well. So you've got that nice touch. But just going back to what we were talking about, again, we've got the rolling here with the handmade or the hand-padded lapel. And the canvas inside. Now you can get ready-to-wear jackets with a canvas, can't you?
Of course.
Yeah, so it's not exclusively for bespoke
a lot
work,
of high-end ready-to-wear coats, your Ketons, your Attolinis, and or even sort of the Chesterbarrys, the old Chester. Any high-end ready-to-wear. Oxfords, they are all fully canvased.
And that, of course, is what you were saying about it's an organic, sort of a live fabric, so it makes a shape, but it's not rigid, and it molds to you. And of course, this is all part of the mystery, and one wonders, for these techniques that you've got in your products, these methods for the measuring, which you were telling us about, the shaping and all of that, I mean, these were developed over many, many years and passed down by tailors. It's not like as you said, it's not like we just came up with it. But it's interesting, that, isn't it? As generations of tailors have worked on things and figured out how to achieve, for example,
But in this case, Peter, I must say, just a caveat here, because I didn't learn from any tailor. I mean, I never went and sat down and sort of apprenticed under a tailor. A lot of the things a lot of the design elements in our coats actually, and I keep saying this, are primarily born or primarily grounded in my own education in engineering. I mean, literally, including the trousers, you know, the jackets, the rule of thirds, just sort of proportions, everything. All of that are just basically were just direct transfers. Essentially just sort of ported from my basic understanding of design. And I try to figure how to incorporate that knowledge into tailoring. So, I mean, and that's why you might see some traditional tailors might sneer at some things here and there, because they're not traditional. The way we've sort of designed and sort of created our own DNA, if you will, are not by traditional, not even traditional design metrics.
That's right. That's right.
When you talk about design, like a typical fashion designer. I mean, let's call it what it is. A lot of this stuff, I just made it up. Like, really. You know, as people would say, I just made the shit up.
I don't know if we're supposed to tell
well, I mean, it's the fact. A lot of these things, I just sort of made stuff up, and you keep trying different things until something strikes you and you say, okay, this looks good. So, so in many ways, and this runs down the line with all our garments, a lot of what you see today is just sort of the result of taking time-tested principles, right? Not tailoring principles.
That's right,
but just general principles of physics, of just sort of art, of design, going all the way back to Michelangelo. And sort of trying those things in, you know, using fabric as your subject matter.
Instead of concrete or wood or something.
Concrete or wood or steel. Exactly.
Well, it's curious that, because it's rather like, say, a stonemason and a civil engineer. So the tailor is sort of like the stonemason. You know, he knows that if you cut it this way, it does this. The engineer comes along and says, well, this is why that happens. So you, because of being an engineer, you can see why that would work or why it wouldn't work.
Correct.
And cloth being, from, I suppose if you look at it in one way, being a solid, so it would naturally have it, and having its own properties, once you know those properties.
It is matter.
It's matter, isn't it? Yes. But this is fascinating, Prof, and I don't think you've ever actually told me, or put it that way to me, the point about making it up. And I think this is something that perhaps annoys some of the people out there when they see somebody who sort of comes in from outside the business, as it were, and says, okay, why don't we do it this way? Now, interestingly, that, for example, when you talk about design, some people think that design is the outside. So it's the outline, right, or the color or something. But in fact, from what you're telling us, it's both, isn't it? It's the out shape that you see, but it's all the bits that make it possible to have that shape that you see.
Well, I mean, sort of, here's an interesting analogy. You know, if you went to Ferrari and you say, design me a car, you know, they would design you sort of, you know, they design incredible engines, right?
Right.
So they could design you this amazing, powerful 1 million horsepower engine, right? Say, oh, there you go, there's an engine, right? But then you have to think about how that marries with everything else that goes with the car. The aerodynamics of the car, the shape of the car, the chassis, the brakes, you know, the gearbox, to make sure that all of that stuff, the gearbox can carry the power. Right? So that the gearbox doesn't sort of shred into bits, right? So everything needs to be in balance, right? Internally. And then externally, right? Everything, the design elements, which is sort of the artistic expression that you physically see. You don't see the engine of the car. You don't see the gearbox. You don't see the crankshaft or the axle, right? You don't even see the brakes, right? What you see is the exterior, the artwork, you know, the aesthetic.
Yeah.
That aesthetic also has to support the internals.
Yeah.
So design is an entire wholesome language that incorporates both the internal and the external.
Yes.
Similar with clothing.
Yes.
Right? Everything that is going on inside, the structure, right? We talked about how we create excess acreage to accommodate the structure, right? So once we built the structure internally, the canvassing, the extended shoulder, sort of the use of, you know, materials out there to sort of create that structure. The external or the visual, the aesthetic has to accommodate all that structure.
Yes. So there's things you can't do with the outside just because.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or they're the things you must do with the outside.
Right.
To complement the
Yes.
inside.
So you can't have, for example, a draped chest on an unstructured shoulder, for example, because it wouldn't have anything to drape off of, would it?
Even sort of from an architectural standpoint, from an engineering standpoint, it wouldn't work. And let me explain to you why. Pete, you're making me give up too much here, but I will just indulge you for a moment. Now, Hashim will tell you, and we sort of play around with this a lot in the workshop, okay? To create this excess room that I talk about, remember I talked about the curvature from point A to B. How going from point A to B on a straight line is shorter than going from A to B on a curved surface, right? To create that curved surface, you need to create excess cloth, right? So that means the cross point, right? You have to create excess across the cross point. Now, to create excess at the cross point, if you cut a natural shoulder, right? What happens? Tell me.
Well, it's going to be shorter on the transverse, if you call it that. It's going to be shorter there. It's going to hang lower. And if you don't have shoulders, it's going to hang much lower on your body, isn't it?
Well, that's not the exact answer I'm looking for, and I'm sure if Hashim were here, he would have answered that question. When you cut excess here, right? When you're trying to achieve this curvature here, right? You also have to extend the shoulder, right? Because the shoulder needs to be extended to allow you to cut this curve on the chest.
Okay.
If you cut the shoulder too close, right?
Yes.
Then it just looks like that.
Yeah.
You can't get any shape out of it.
Right. Okay.
You understand what I mean?
Yes.
It looks like sort of this excess. So it looks like a bag here, and then this looks so. To get this, to shape this, you actually have to extend the shoulder a little bit. And that's what makes it look clean, because that excess here runs all the way up to the top.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah, so it's not just here.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay,
it has
so
to
the whole thing is bigger.
It's continuous all the way up,
okay.
right? It's continuous. That excess is continuous all the way up to the shoulder seam. And that's why if you're doing a draped chest, the shoulder extension is absolutely unnegotiable. You have to have that. You have to have that shoulder extension. And once you have that shoulder extension, like we discussed, you have to support it. You have to reinforce it with some kind of structure at the shoulder.
Okay,
you understand?
Got it. And I hope everybody...
I hope the science makes sense. Hashim, you understand what I'm talking about, right? We've dealt with this so many times in the design studio. But that's the whole point, is that it's not just one thing, right? It's so many different elements that have to work together, that have to come together to make the shape itself.
And of course, you've got the weight of the cloth pulling down as well. You know, one thing I noticed, Prof, though, on your product here, your AskOkey products, the sleeve sticks out a bit here. Do you know what I mean? There's quite a bit in the sleeve there. It's not, sometimes on a jacket you'll see the sleeve like this.
I understand what you're saying, and Hashim is probably laughing over there because he knows exactly what I'm going to say. Now, what we want to do, when we say we want to sort of, look, when I started designing these things, I wanted to create a sculpture, okay? how do you create a sculpture? When you try to create a sculpture, you need a lot of material, right? You need to shape things and you need to curve things. You need to create shape, right? And to create shape, you have to cut excess in so many different places. So just like we cut excess in the chest to shape the chest, at the sleeve head, this has to also, you have to cut excess. Because if you cut the sleeve head too slim, right, you're not going to get this three-dimensional shape.
No.
So the reason why we're able to shape this shoulder, you're able to get this three-dimensional and the roping is because here we've created sort of excess fabric, right? Larger than sort of like your natural arm, say for it. That allows us to create all this, you see all these three-dimensional curves that you see here, right?
Yes.
Even in the back, you can see it here.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can
and
see
in fact, there's quite a bit of three-dimensional under the arm.
You can see the three-dimensional shape here, both in the back and in the front, right?
Yes.
We've had situations where I've had to send them back, if you remember, Hashim. I've had to send them back to say, listen, no, this is not how you do it. If you want to shape this, you need to sort of create more room. And so some people look at it and like, oh, the sleeves are too big.
That's right. Yes,
they're not too big.
No, they're not. No, they're three-dimensional.
Right? They're right size. So because remember, first of all, they still have to drape properly. So you have to have enough room for it to drape, without getting stuck to your arms, right? But then even more room if you want to achieve this three-dimensional room, because then you're really molding the cloth. You're molding the cloth. You're creating shape, and to create that shape, like I said, you need that excess. So overall, right, if you look at this garment, right, and that's why people say, "Oh, Prof, why do you need, 4.5 meters?"
I was just thinking of that.
Why do you need 4.5 meters to make a suit? I'm 6 foot, a little bit over 6 foot tall, right? Almost 6'1", and I use about 4.5 meters to make a two-piece suit for me. Right. Sometimes even 5 meters, and we need all that excess acreage. We need all that fabric, right? Because all of this stuff takes fabric, right? To create these shapes and to create all these things, to mold the structure, as it were, you need excess fabric. You need to have a lot of allowances, so to speak, what they would call seam allowances.
Sure, because if you ask the average tailor, he'll tell you that for a suit, a two-piece suit, 3.5 yards is enough.
Yeah, if you're making an Italian, sort
skinny
of
boy suit.
A skinny boy suit, you can get away with even 3 meters.
Yes.
But to do a lot of this, to create art, which is what we do, you need sufficient fabric.
Yes.
Even for our smallest clients, we cut, even for our smallest clients who sort of are 5'5", 5'6", we start at 4 meters for a suit length, nothing less. 4.5 meters, and for someone who's about sort of, I wouldn't call myself tall, more like average, slightly on the higher side of average. 4.5 to 5 meters, for a suit length, two-piece.
And I think for three-piece or for the double-breasted, you get close to 6.
6 meters on average.
Because with the double-breasted, I mean, you've got that extra cloth in the front, but you've also got bigger lapels and everything. No, this is amazing. This is fascinating. And when you feel the arm here, what you can feel, it's sort of crumpled under the arm. And so you can't get a perfectly smooth because you've got to leave also enough to move the arm, haven't you?
Well, if you look at the arm here, I mean, these are all sort of small intricacies of design. It's the armhole. You see how high the armhole is?
It is.
The armhole is really very small. Right, and that is what aids this mobility.
That's
right. That's why you're able to lift your arm. Right. That's why you're able to button this coat. When I button your coat, right?
That's right.
That's why you're able to lift your arm.
That's right. There we go.
Because of the high armhole, right?
Sure.
Now, imagine for a moment, right? How do you cut this large sleeve that we've talked about with all the excess into a small armhole? That's art.
Well, it certainly is. I have the faintest idea how to do it.
That is art. It's a trick. You're constantly playing tricks of sort of, sort of going between what needs to be small and what needs to be large. As I always sort of say in our initial videos, think about mechanics, right? Think about mechanics of the body, right? I always say it doesn't matter how large or small you cut the coat, right? That's all stylistic choice. But there are two things that need to be spot on. These are the things that anchor the coat, the armhole and the collar. It's like a vice.
Right.
Right? The armhole and the collar act like a vice, and they keep the coat from moving around. Again, these are all engineering principles, right? So if they do act like a vice, and this was my thought process when we were designing these things. I didn't go to any tailor and say, I'm just thinking to myself, okay, if this were an engineering problem, and if I wanted to stabilize a coat, right? If I wanted to, what do I need to keep constant? Where are the points of pressure? Where are the points of pressure? Where are the points where I need to keep things constant to ensure that the structure doesn't wobble?
Right, okay. So like the center of gravity, as it were.
Exactly. So I figure that sort of the anchor points were the armhole and the collar, right? So I cut this really, really tight, right? Really small. The armhole and the collar, I cut them really tight. Everything else, I have room, acres of room to play with. You understand?
Amazing.
Everything else I have acres of room to play with, but the most important things that drive fit or that determine fit, that stabilize the structure, have to be spun on. They have to be sort of small.
Yeah. You know, it never occurred to me, but yes,
does it make sense to you?
Well, it does the way you say it, but I have to admit, I never really thought about it. I've always just been sort of, not astounded, but singularly amazed at the way the jacket feels when you wear it, which is not like another jacket would feel. And I think most of us would say, oh, that's great, it feels marvelous, the collar doesn't rise when you raise your arms and so forth. And of course the question is, how do you get that? And you've very kindly unveiled that trade
another
secret this
thing
evening.
To bear in mind, Pete, is that while we cut a generally sort of large body, is that, again, going back to my engineering principles, right? If you cut this small as it should, and you cut the collar really sort of, you get the shape of this collar really nice and tight, right? When you start moving around, right? If the coat is tight, right? Then it really forces the anchors, the pins out of position. Well, it forces
the collar up, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yes.
So think about it like a skyscraper, right? You have a pile, right? You have a pile or sort of the pins that would drive into the foundation, right? If the structure is too narrow, right? It's more difficult for the piles and sort of like to work. So the base of the structure has to be larger, right? So in the same way, right, there has to be enough room everywhere else in the coat, right? Then it needs to be roomy enough to allow these two piles or anchors, as it were, to function properly.
Okay.
Does it make sense to you?
It does. And of course, the other
because if there's not enough room, it's going to keep pulling. It's going to keep pulling these anchors out of their natural position.
And the interesting thing, Prof, is that you're doing this. Excuse me. You're doing this to put it on a body that is always kind of moving. I mean, even when you're sitting still, you're moving around. So it's not, I mean, when you build the skyscraper, inshallah, hopefully, the ground is not going to move. But here, you've got somebody who's reaching, leaning down, leaning back, and it has to maintain its purpose regardless what the wearer's doing.
But the ground moves also in a skyscraper. There's a problem right now on, I think it's 54 Park Avenue.
In New York.
In New York, okay? I think it's 54. It's on the Billionaires Row. They built this structure, right? It's one of the tallest residential towers in New York City. It's built as like a straight rectangle from the bottom to the top. There was a story done on it in the New York Times. Go and research it a few days ago, okay? This was the first structure of its kind where sort of the base and the top are exactly the same circumference, right?
Really?
Or the same size. So if you think about sort of a natural structure, you start wider at the bottom and it sort of narrows as
like
it goes to the top.
Like a tree trunk or something.
Exactly. So what they've done with this particular design is that they've made it essentially sort of, basically same size from the bottom all the way to the 80th floor. So, and they're having problems because the earth moves, right? And you've got the piles and the foundations and these pins that I described, right? The earth moves and the sway is so violent, right? And these are condos that cost tens of millions of dollars. And the residents have had it.
I'm not surprised.
Right?
I'm not surprised.
Things are falling like concrete breaks off of the building when it starts to sway. And the reason is because it's skinny.
On that note, Prof, sorry to...
You understand what I'm saying?
I do.
It's very skinny. I'm really kind of on the floor here.
No, I know. The thing is that it does...
But you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Because it's skinny, right, then it's more difficult for the piles and sort of the pins to do their job. If it had more room and a wider base, right, as most buildings are, right, then the piles, right, and the pins do their work. But if you do it on a skinny building, right, you're going to have problems. It's the same thing with your coat, right? If the coat is too skinny, then you're going to have problems with sort of the mechanical elements of the coat.
And this is something, Prof, that I think the average guy probably doesn't ever think about. Just as when he looks at a skyscraper, he doesn't think about. He says, "Oh, that's nice. It's all the same size all the way up." And one man's science is another man's common sense. Anyway, Prof, thank you very much for that. This has been most enlightening, and I hope so for all of you. A very good day to you. Thank you for being with us, and we look forward to joining you.
I hope I haven't tasked your brain too much.
No, indeed. No. I need
science and engineering.
I need this sort of exercise. Thanks very much, Prof.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Bye for now, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye for now.